What's up, everybody? Sending love. I had a beautiful experience today that I wanted to share with y'all. I had taken a few weeks off from reading and absorbing the words of Peter Brown, one of my great teachers, and just somebody whose words are really like a portal for me, like probably the most powerful portal for just almost immediately opening to a wider range of modes that are available here and now, a wider range of flavors, a wider range of perspectival, experiential possibilities that are always available. Deeply, deeply, I know and have deeply internalized that all modes are fully this. This is always fully this. It's always Miller time, as Peter Brown says. That was actually one of the quotes that I came upon freshly of his today that I wanted to talk about a bit in this video. He would love to say, "It's always Miller time. It's always Miller time." It's always the fullness of radiant presence. It's always this weightless, exquisite, juicy, indefinable mystery just dancing, just being with itself in a space of luscious openness, spacious juiciness. So, anywho, I had taken a few weeks off from being absorbed in Peter's work. I kind of just felt a natural calling to take some space away from most non-dual communication, because I was just feeling like I just want to experience the natural flow of life without immersing so much in those types of signals. And that was really beautiful. And at the same time, it was interesting today when I did feel an intuitive calling to revisit Peter's words. Um, it was almost like an immediate flash of transmission from Peter. There just seems to be some kind of mysterious connection that I have to him and his work. Even though he left this world a couple years ago, God rest his soul, it's like his words carry his soul signature flavor, his essence, his energy in such a potent way that I can just read or listen to his words and discover miraculousness, remember miraculousness very quickly and very potently, and really just reopen into a wider range of modes and freshly reopen into the modes of weightlessness and the modes of simple freedom that are always available. Because, I have a very powerful mind and I can easily get sucked into a mode of mentalization, a mode of thought loops and mind activity. And that's also fully reality. That mode is fully included. The modes of mentalization are another fully miraculous thing that reality is doing, a fully valid way for reality to express itself, a fully valid way for God to poetically be with God. So there's no need to make mentalization stop or demonize mentalization. And yet, interestingly, as I think a lot of us have experienced, when we do become deeply absorbed in and kind of hypnotized by mentalization and thought loops, it can easily start to become a cage because that mode can be very sticky and very tricky and very seductive. And pretty quickly, you can just kind of forget that you're investing in a particular mode of giving weight and letting the supposedly fixed definitions presented by thought um, actually get believed in. You're believing that there is some kind of inherently fixed meaning or definition within this pixelation of mentalized thought energy, when really, if you zoom out from another perspective, that thought energy is just another another blob of pixelated morphingness, another tinglingness that's just kind of, dancing in whatever this field of experience is. but it's very seductive, right? And for me, there can be, as a family man, as somebody, as a householder with a certain amount of responsibility in the world, particularly thought loops around money and around providing for my family can be really sticky for me. And so today I noticed that when I tuned back into Peter's work, it kind of like snapped me out of that and made me realize that I had really been over investing myself and over fixating on a mode of giving too much fixity, too much concretization, too much supposedly fixed meaning and definition to these thought structures around money, around money. Because yeah, thankfully, without saying too much about my financial situation, I'm thankful to be in a situation where I don't have any debt and I have a decent amount of savings. And yet I've been at kind of a plateau where I haven't been growing my savings, and I've started to use some of my savings, and even just seeing that number of savings start to go down a little bit rather than growing, as a vulnerable human sharing from the heart, I can share that type of situation can hook me, can hook me, can Velcro me into a mode of over-investing in these thought loops that claim to know what that means. This is one of the most key things to notice here. Um, that we get stuck in these modes where we really believe that these thought loops mean something that is really fixed and definable. And of course, on one level, they pragmatically do mean something. On some level, there is a meaning of the number in your bank account, and that has practical real world consequences for you in the human world. And at the same time, it's so vitalizing, so refreshing to notice that actually, on another level, those numbers have no meaning at all. There's no fixed or inherent meaning to number in bank account. It's literally just like a squiggle on a screen, and it has no fixed or inherent meaning. It cannot be inherently pinned down or quantified or located or structuralized what the heck that is even referring to. No one even knows what money really is. It's a functional tool that we utilize in our human civilization at this stage of evolution. And yet, uh, what the heck is it? No one even really knows. And so if you can if you can really let yourself see that you have no way of knowing with any certainty that your financial situation should be any different from how it is in this moment. And if you can see that you don't even really know what your financial situation is, because no one even really knows what numbers are, what money is, what a bank account is. In a profound sense, if you can access these modes of unknowing, if you can access these modes of unknowing, everything just becomes like this mysterious poem that's just morphing, and it's effulging with ambient ambiguous meaning, and yet you can't pin down precisely what that meaning is. So everything becomes vague and amorphous in these types of modes, and there can be an immense freedom in that, an immense openness, and an immense opening to, oh, I don't actually know with certainty that it would be better for my bank account to be bigger or to be growing right now. I don't actually know with certainty that my daughter would be better off if I gave her a large inheritance someday versus a smaller inheritance, and she therefore has to go through a bigger initiation to figure some things out for herself. Maybe she'd benefit more from the latter. I don't know. I don't know. And there's a great freedom in seeing that. It's like that story of the Zen farmer, who's like his horse runs away, and the townspeople say, "Oh, you must be so upset." And he's like, "Oh, we'll see." Horse comes back with a bunch of wild horses. He puts them all in his pen, and now he has 20 horses. And the townspeople are like, "Wow, you must be so enthused and jazzed." And he's like, "We'll see." His son falls off one of the wild horses, breaks both his legs. The people are like, "Oh my, you must be so upset." And he's like, "We'll see." Country goes to war. All the able-bodied young men get drafted, and his son doesn't get drafted because he broke both his legs. And they say, "Wow, that was really lucky. You must be really happy about that." He just says, "We'll see. Who knows? Maybe." You know, the freedom of maybe, the freedom of who the fuck knows, you know? So applying that today, just like cut through a certain like pattern of grasping, a certain pattern of being locked into a particular mode. That's where the pain comes in when we get stuck in a particular mode, when we lose the capacity to slip slide among these modes, when we lose capacity to tap into the non-knowingness, the weightlessness, you know? And sometimes the non-knowing and the weightlessness, we don't necessarily want to get stuck there either. That can become its own kind of trap. And I think recently I was really trying to ground back into my human life. So I haven't been tuning into those modes as much with as much intentionality. And yet today was just a really good reminder that those modes are available and that at least a certain amount of regularly drinking from the waters of life of those vaster modes is really, really rejuvenating for me and really feels like home. And just, yeah, I mean, it's liberating, it's freeing. And yeah, I want to talk about a couple of the Peter Brown quotes that really hit me today. Um, so there was that one, "It's always Miller time," which I'll talk about in a moment. And the other one that really hit me was he wrote, "There is no basis for preferring one thing over another. There is no basis for preferring one thing over another." I mean, can you feel the potential liberation of that? Just to be able to access a mode where you see that there's no basis, you know? And that type of mode again is these modes of unknowing. It's these modes of noticing, okay, on the deepest level, ontologically speaking, if I look at the beingness of, whatever this immediacy is, I really cannot pin down what I'm dealing with here. I can't pin down what anything most fundamentally is. I can't tell you. I could put a name on it. I can call it being or universe or God or Brahman or or Tao. But do those words actually capture it or say what it is in any fundamental sense? No, they don't. No, they don't. And so it's that release into unknowingness that reveals the sense in which there's no basis for preferring one thing over another, because to prefer one thing over another, you'd have to actually know what things are. You'd have to actually know what they are and know whether they're better or worse in some kind of ultimate sense. And who could say that? It's like holding up two different Rorschach splotches, in the shrink's office, and they're like, which of these amorphous blobs is better? Which do you prefer? And it's like, I don't know. They're both amorphous blobs. I have no idea what they even are. And there can be something incredibly profound, incredibly freeing about tapping into that type of mode. So it was that pointer that was just kind of like a laser today that was like, and it was like, oh, that's right. There's no basis for preferring some fantasy of greater financial wealth over my current situation. I don't even know what my current situation is. I don't know what that other situation would be like. I've invested in a fantasy that says that I do know those things, and that fantasy is causing me to suffer because I'm over attaching to that fantasy. I'm actually concretizing the fantasy and believing that it has a fixed meaning, so much of the liberation of this exploration of awakening comes through seeing the freedom from fixed meanings, the freedom from things needing to have a fixed meaning, because over investing in a sense of a fixed meaning or a fixed story is a huge part of where our suffering comes from. And so, some people like suffering. If so, keep attaching to those fixed meanings. But if you want to diminish your suffering, um, by hook or by crook, as Peter would say, do whatever you can to get out of those fixed meanings, those fixed stories. Um, so yeah, that was one quote that hit me. And then going back to the first one, again, it's always Miller time. When I saw that, I just had to laugh. I just had to laugh because, you know, I'm doing a number of different 1 year commitments right now. Just really trying to behaviorally order my life in a way that feels really high integrity to me and feels like how I want to show up for my daughter and for my family. And, a couple of those are, for example, I'm a few months into these right now, several months in, and no tobacco for a year is one of them, as well as only being able to have one alcoholic beverage per week, which I have stretched that a couple times by having some rather large beers, but I specifically left it ambiguous to give myself the option to have a larger drink if I really wanted to. But yeah, at times recently I've been feeling a bit like, oh, this is a drag. It sucks that I can't just roll up a spliff and go smoke it in the woods, or can't just have a beer when I want to have a beer. And so, yeah, Peter's reference to Miller time, this classic Miller Beer Company beer commercial idea of Miller time, like, oh, it's Miller time, it's time to have a beer. Him saying it's always Miller time was just, again, kind of like a lightning bolt that just like dusted off some cobwebs and kind of cleanse the vision to reveal the freshness of like, oh, that's right. Reality is just always continuously drinking itself. Reality is just always continuously drinking itself, drinking its own lusciousness, its own vivacity, its own voracious, splendiferous, stelliferous buzzingness, it is always here. It's always a full contact sport. It's always full on. It's always the wowness. And it's always Miller time. And it's just a matter of finding your very personal access points that allow you to access that whenever you want, and accessing it often enough that you can be replenished by those waters of life as you remember that this is the eternal victory lap. This is the divine hallelujah. This is already a pageant of holy celebration, because this is already it. This is it. This is the whole point. This is the whole point. Just this moment as it is, life being life, the fact that life is here, you know, this is, at least we can say this is a mode that is very, very potent to play with, a mode of recognizing ever-present miraculousness, recognizing a sense in which this is always the finish line, this is always freedom, this is always Miller time, this is always the splendid opportunity to sip God nectar through a straw. It's always now. It's always the Big Bang. It's always an explosion of pure, bottomless potency. I mean, what is this vital life force that is erupting from every nook and cranny, that is overflowing geyser-like from every nook and cranny? I mean, can we sensitively open to that and let ourselves feel that sense in which this is it right now? And if I just stop over concretizing and over fixating on my definitions that say, well, there's problems that need to be solved before I can really enjoy this, or there's a big to-do list, or the destination is actually somewhere else in the future when I've checked off X and Y and Z. It's like those are valid modes, but are you sure you want to spend your life playing more so in those modes, or do you want to Spend your life being more in touch with a mode of it's always Miller time, baby. It's always Miller time. And this is it. This is it. This is it. So, you have that option. If you want to explore the modes of freedom and weightlessness and sensitivity, receptivity, availability, openness, transparency to the fullness of divine astonishment, that is available. That is available. And that is, wow, is it illuminating? Wow, is it freeing? Wow, is it light? Wow, is it, you know, effortless? It's just effortless being. Effortless being. It's just this being this, you being you. The astounding nature of experience, as Peter's book is called. This is major shout out to this book, The Astounding Nature of Experience. This is one of my favorite books of all time, and this is the one that I cracked open today to find those quotes from Peter. Literally, just it's a type of book you can open to any page, and you'll yeah, there's wonders on every page. It can just be a single sentence for me at least that's just like like a key in the padlock and just opening mental cages to rediscover freshness. So thank God for Peter Brown. Thank you, Peter Brown. I'll try to remember to link that book in the description. If you enjoyed this video, please leave a comment. Let me know what you appreciated about it. That's really helpful. Drop a like, subscribe and follow along. We're dancing the gravy train, holy dance here. The boundless Macarena to infinity and beyond. So if you wanna hook your train car to that caboose and get funky with us, then please do. Much love, much peace, much joy, everybody. Thank you for listening. I hope this was valuable for you. Peace and love to you. Take it easy. Take it easy. One love, amen. Namaste. Peace, infinity. I love you.